They're not a challenge to us. It's a challenge for the United Nations to get them where they're supposed to go. On their own website, you can see the statistics. In the month of August, less than 10%, 99% actually, were diverted. Less than only 1% got to where it's supposed to go. We've had zero diversion. They try to...
So UN food that the world is paying for does not get to the Gazans. And there is one more video that just came in now, and I want to cover that one last video to discuss what's going on out there. So let's do that video as well. Let's see if I could find it. Feeding Gaza. Check this out.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Israel is going for meaningful military steps in Gaza to occupy the city of Gaza. How does it affect your work?
So remains to be seen, but most of our work is taking place in central and...
So this is Chapin Pai. He's the spokesman for the food distribution in Gaza. So this is a guy who's in charge of food distribution. Like, this guy is really, like, he knows if food is getting to the Gazans or not. Like, he's on the ground himself. So this is an important interview.
South Gaza. Just today, I was at a distribution near Rafah. We delivered 650 aids of pallets of aid, excuse me, to men and women. We also had a separate women's distribution that I got to see.
But are you going to open more centers?
We are in the works. We are planning to open 4 more centers and scale to 8. Those plans are being talked about and discussed right now.
And it's not a secret that the UN is not a fan of your work, and the trucks that are going into northern Gaza are a challenge for you. What is going to change about this?
Well, they're not a challenge to us. It's a challenge for the United Nations to get them where they're supposed to go. On their own website, you can see the statistics. In the month of August, less than 10%, 99% actually, were diverted. Less than only 1% got to where it's supposed to go.
Why is that?
It's because of many reasons. One is they do not secure, they do not use armed personnel like we do. We've had zero diversion. They try to...
So UN food that the world is paying for does not get to the Gazans. So the UN, once again, is unemployed, ineffective. It's just the UN. I tell you, sometimes I think it's just like, sometimes there's things that are funny. Like the UN, if you read those letters together, it's just They're just They're unhelpful. Ineffective. They're un. Okay. And here's a guy that's working through an American system to feed the Gazans. And he's telling you, 99% of their stuff doesn't get to where it's supposed to be going, which is another way of saying that it's all going to Hamas. Another way of saying that 99% of the food does not go where it's meant to go means 99% of it goes to feed terrorists. Like UNRWA, they work for the terrorists. So in other words, they know that the food is not getting where it's supposed to go, where they say it's going to go, but they actually tacitly play along to feed the jihad. You see how it works? In reality, the UN is complicit with the jihad. That's the truth. Say it. You're going to feel very happy, and because there'll be fresh air. Say, the UN is complicit with the jihad. See how plain that is? You say it, and there's clarity, moral clarity that comes into your heart and into your consciousness.
Bring their trucks into Gaza City. They get immediately looted. They are attacked by Hamas. They're hijacked by Hamas. I've spoken to some of their truck drivers. It's a very dangerous job. They get shot at. They get beat up, and the aid gets stolen. Also, you see all over social media, the UN trucks, at best, they get swarmed by thousands of hungry Palestinians, and it creates a dangerous situation. Sometimes the truck drivers are pulled out. The trucks can lurch over people. People are trampled, and the aid is, being strewn about. It's really a chaotic sight to see.
But why the UN is against you?
Well, at the end of the day, GHF is a disruptor. Our model is working, and theirs was not. One of the reasons Israel, kicked everyone out of Gaza was because the prior system was a failure. GHF's mission is to feed people, and to feed people in a way that Hamas cannot steal it And we've been successful at that, and the United Nations has not. We actually have an open invitation to the UN to collaborate with us. We can provide security, we can provide drivers, trucks, they can provide aid. If we could work together, rather than them disparaging us in the news. Imagine how many people we could feed if they spent their time working with us rather than working against us.
So would it be true to say that the UN doesn't seem sincere about is humanitarian intentions?
It is very fair to say that. We adhere to the four humanitarian principles. This morning, I saw a very dignified, orderly process. The women that we distributed to were very excited and happy that they had reserved their aid in advance and could come and pick it up and feed their families that way.
Your CEO said that your employees are under threat from Hamas. Can you explain?
Sure. So there are a bunch of different threats. The most dire one is we use local Gazans, Palestinian people, to work on the site. We have local workers. They are the ones that interact with the crowd. They're the ones that distribute the aid. And we are there to support them with our humanitarian and security personnel. They now live on site. And they cover their faces because Hamas has threatened them and their families just for feeding people.
Okay, so let's just make it clear. The guys that the Arabs that are feeding other Arabs through this system, which is actually getting to the people, they're under threat from Hamas because they don't want to see people being fed. They want the food diverted to them. They want to show a chaotic situation. They want to show people starving. That is their MO. That is what they're doing. That's their modus. That's their mission, right? To create a bad image for Israel, to underfeed people, to keep the food for themselves. The UN is complicit with that. This organization, GHF, is trying very much to relieve the hungry Gazans, give them food. Of course, by the way, we have not mentioned the important aspect of trying to find an alternative exit for Gazan Arabs to become refugees somewhere else. That we're not talking about. We're just talking about feeding them right there. And this man is telling us that the workers that he has, that he's employing to feed other Arabs, are under threat by Hamas. Here's a guy. He's just telling you the way it is on the ground. You don't have to listen to the New York Slimes. You don't have to listen to the London Times. You don't have to listen to anybody else who's not telling you the truth. This guy's on the ground. He's relaying to you what the situation is.
And they live on site now because early on in the process in June, they used to take a bus to the site to work. And it was hijacked by Hamas and people were murdered on the bus on camera. The survivors were brought to Nasser Hospital and left to die in the courtyard. Yeah, so it is very dangerous. And in America, our executive chairman and our executive director have been protested and are under threat in America too. You know, I didn't realize that feeding people would be so controversial, but for some reason it is. But despite that,
what do you mean for some reason? How do you analyze this reason?
Well, I would say we've delivered over 130 million meals with no casualties.
130 million meals. 130 million meals. There's 2 million Arabs. 3 times a day. That would be needing to feed 6 million meals a day. 6 million meals a day. That means that they've been able, and that's of course at the maximum. That means they've been able to feed 30 days worth, right? Like 3 meals a day. You six. You need to feed. You have 2 million Arabs. You need to feed 3 million, 3 a day. That's 6 million meals. He's already delivered 135 million meals. That's what. That's how many does that come out? 69? Is that the number? That's a lot of days. They're really doing it. They're really feeding them a lot. They're really trying very hard to feed them. And somebody's writing here. Enoch writes that most of the population is kids. Small kids don't eat the same amount as adults. I mean, they're really getting the food out there. And the reason I'm saying this is just to point out to you that this whole narrative of starvation is there to strike at Israel, and people like the New York Times and Al Jazeera and the Saudis and Rabbi Blau are complicit in trying to teach this narrative. The bottom line is they're able to feed a lot. They're able to feed folks a lot. and they're doing it. Okay, so kol hakavod to them. Let's finish off this interview. Kol hakavod means all the respect to them for really providing decent humanitarian subsistence.
Other than Hamas fomented violence on our sites, no shooting casualties on our sites. We've done it safely, securely, and with dignity, and we're looking to expand. And by the way, the threats you just mentioned is only making our people more resilient to do the right thing and to keep feeding more people.
But explain to me something, because your organization has people that work in humanitarian projects around the world, in different areas, in Arab countries. What's the difference, for instance, between Gaza to Afghanistan?
There is not a lot of difference. So the United Nations in the past has worked with groups just like us. They have worked with armed security, Haiti, Congo, Sudan. This is the only place on planet Earth the United Nations and other NGOs have a problem with our model. You'd have to ask them why. I'm not quite sure why, and I'm not going to comment on their motives. But just last week, 200 NGOs, over 200 NGOs from over 15 countries sent a letter publicly to the UN urging them to collaborate with us in both funding and logistics and to stop any policies that would hinder our work, because our model is working. We have another NGO on site called Samaritan's Purse. They are delivering medical aid.
But let me ask the question that you might try to avoid, but is there a possibility that there is an hypocrisy?
I think there's a lot of hypocrisy, and I think you'll see this in this area of the world. As you well know, there's a lot of hypocrisy from a lot of different actors. We are independent and neutral from the government of Israel. We do work with the IDF to deconflict outside of our sites, but we are an American organization, and there is no IDF on our sites. They are safe and secure because of our American veterans who are highly trained and highly skilled and have never once fired a shot at anyone. And I saw that today. These men, towards the end, put down their weapons and were handing out boxes of aid to women so we could get them in and out, and we put it directly into their hands, and we're looking to scale that program. So I think there is a lot of hypocrisy. Our model is working. We've delivered 130 million meals. We'll be at 131, 132 million at the end of today in less than 3 months.
Chapin Fay, spokesperson for the GIF. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello.
And that was my colleague Neve Dromi for I-24 interviewing the GHF, and great job at feeding folks. You know, it's important to feed the Gazans. It's important not to create a humanitarian crisis. I still think that we should be making sure that Gazans can leave. And look, the UN version, which continues as well, as he said, 99% of their foodstuffs go to stuffing the mouths of jihadist terrorists, and they know that. They know that.